Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the ZTV Sports Report, your home for all things Akron Zips athletics. Not only are we recording this live, but we're dedicating the entire episode to both basketball teams' performances in the recent MAC tournament. As always, I'm Max Saracey.
And I'm Dustin James.
And this is the ZTV Sports Report. Before diving into the action, let's take a glimpse into the overall landscape of the tournaments. On the men's side of things, the Zips finished in the 5 slot, matched up against the Buffalo Bulls. Toledo leads the way as the 1 seed, while conference rival Kent State managed to secure the 2 seed. For the women, a 3rd place regular season finish finds them squaring off against the 6 seed Bowling Green Falcons. Like their men's team, Toledo has once again secured the top seed. Starting off our show with that game against Bowling Green, let's take it over to John and see how the team was able to do in Cleveland.
You know what time it is, Akron. It's MAC tournament time. I'm John Jackson, and today I'm bringing you the Akron Zips versus Bowling Green. Let's get straight into the action. Leading the way for the Zips is no one other than Jordan Dawson, who's averaging 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists a game. In the first quarter, both teams were hot coming right out the gate, with Bowling Green scoring 23 points in the first quarter, while the Zips scored 20. The leading scorer for Bowling Green was Amy Velasco, who scored 19 points and grabbed 5 rebounds. On the other side, Jordan Dawson scored 22 points, pulled down 7 rebounds, dished out 4 assists, but the stat that I love the most are the 6 steals. That means she was engaged on the defensive end and was making plays all over the floor. One of the most notable things from both teams throughout the game is the 3-point shooting. Bowling Green shot 42.1% from 3, but the Zips shot a scorching hot 50% from 3. However, with that being said, the Zips held an advantage in field goal percentage, shooting 51.8% from the game compared to Bowling Green's 41.8%. This shows that on the defensive end, the Zips were pretty much locked in. And what you're seeing right now is straight bully ball. I call it a post score with all the Hall of Fame badges. That's how you get some buckets. I have to give Bowling Green credit, though, because they were consistently making tough shots throughout the game. One way to have them stop shooting the ball, though, is just to simply take it from them. And that's what Jordan Dawson does right here. While the Zips scored 16 points in the second quarter compared to Bowling Green's 8, it was still a close game. With the third quarter being highly competitive, it wasn't until the fourth quarter where the Zips started to pull away for good. Ending it off with this dime, your final score, Zips 81, Bowling Green 67. I've been your host, John Jackson, and I'm signing off. Goodbye, everybody.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. You know, that's definitely the way that you want to start this tournament. I mean, you look at, this Bowling Green team, not a bad team, got some good talent, but the Zips are definitely the favorite, definitely expected to walk away with the win.
Certainly.
So I'm glad they did that. You really think about it too, the Zips, they haven't won in Cleveland in several years. So, regardless of how the rest of this tournament goes, I feel like you can already almost consider it a success, just that they got this 1 win off the board.
Right.
So,
and whether the games were played in Cleveland or not, the most difficult part of generally any tournament is literally just the first game. Once you get through that first game, you get over the hump, everything just comes a lot more relaxed. It comes more to the normal pace they're used to playing, and it clearly showed that second half. They were playing just regular Zips basketball.
yeah, and I mean, you look at the MAC Player of the Year, Jordan Dawson,
Certainly.
and she was playing like the MAC Player of the Year.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
all 40 minutes.
That is quite something. And obviously didn't have like a 30 bomb or anything like that, but she was doing things on all sides of the court. Those 6 steals. That's
why she's
quite the
Defensive
number.
Player of the Year.
Yeah, we've been seeing that from her all year, so honestly, we shouldn't even be surprised.
No.
But, from there, let's take it into the men's side of things, and let's see how they fare against the Buffalo Bulls.
Hello ZTV Sports fans, this is Andrew Youngdahl, and we're going to be taking a look at the MAC tournament quarterfinal match between the Buffalo Bulls and the Akron Zips. Let's get right into it. The first bucket goes to Buffalo with a layup by number 42, David Skogman. As for Akron, their first score starts with a steal by Greg Tribble, who tries for a layup but doesn't quite get it. However, Enrique Freeman gets the rebound and makes the layup. A few minutes later, Michael Dawson makes a cool three-pointer, keeping the Zips up. Halfway through the first half, both teams stayed neck and neck with each other, going back and forth between free throws and layups. This three-point shot by David Skogman was the start of a Bulls lead for the rest of the half, until the last minute where Akron's Xavier Castaneda shoots two important three-pointers, including an amazing buzzer beater at the very end, making the game 32-32 at the half. In the second half, Castaneda goes for a layup but almost loses the ball. Luckily, he gives it to Michael Dawson and he sinks it for 3 points. He's not known for being a big-time three-point shooter, but that was a big-time three right there. The Zips keep going strong thanks to sophomore Ali making some huge three-pointers, keeping Akron in the lead. But they also play strong defensively, as proven here when Michael Wynn pulls a LeBron James and blocks a layup by Buffalo, which is then rebounded by Castaneda. The Zips were on a hot streak, however, it wouldn't last long as Buffalo started to make a comeback thanks to Keshawn Bruton making some slick three-pointers, tying the game with 4 minutes left. At the 3-minute mark, Buffalo's Trevon Fagan makes a three-pointer to break the tie. It becomes a nail-biter for the last few minutes, but with less than a minute to go, Enrique Freeman makes a crucial layup to tie the game again. At 7 seconds left, Greg Tribble attempts to get a last-second layup for the win. He misses, but he is fouled by Trevon Fagan, getting him to the free throw line. He sinks both free throws, getting Akron up by 2. With just a few seconds left, Buffalo attempts a three-pointer at the last minute, but misses, making the final score 68-70. Akron move on to the semifinals. Both teams were almost even with stats, except Akron had a bigger three-point percentage. Although he wasn't the leading scorer, Xavier Castaneda came in clutch with 6 rebounds and 4 assists. This is Andrew Youngdahl signing off.
And just like that, the Zips are 2-0 in this tournament.
Right.
I mean, I'll be honest, that's the type of game, that's what, MACtion is all about. These tight, nail-biting finishes that just go back and forth. Neither team wants to quit, but neither team's able to pull ahead either.
Right.
So, really nice that this one went the Zips' way. That last shot was
A little too close for comfort.
definitely a heart-pounding moment and
Right.
a hold-your-breath moment. But, couldn't get it to fall, and we move on.
Right, we're moving on, still sitting here, and it was a great game by the Zips because defensively that was an outstanding performance. Throughout the season, you can tell that they're just getting more comfortable as a unit defensively, and it really started to show that. I mean, that game right there was unbelievable. Michael Wynn and Garvin Clark both stepped up and played some major roles and limited some of their better shooters. So.
And one thing that I thought was a little weird, I'm sure the reasoning behind this was probably for COVID, but the Zips only played that Buffalo team one time in the regular season, I'm pretty sure. So, they obviously weren't as familiar with the team as maybe they would have liked. But then again, that goes both ways because Buffalo's not as familiar with the Zips.
Right.
But, ultimately, we got the win and we're moving on.
Certainly.
So it's time for a quick commercial break now. But afterwards, we'll be getting into the semifinal matchup against the Toledo Rockets. Stay tuned.
You're watching ZTV.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere. And just growing up the way I grew up and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
You're watching ZTV.
Well, we're all eager to see how the men's team will fare against the Toledo Rockets, but first we need to take a quick detour back to the women's team and see if they're able to pull out the win against Buffalo. The 3-seed Akron Zips squared off against the 2-seed Buffalo Bulls in a MAC semifinal matchup. Akron looks to make their first championship appearance since 2014, while the Bulls are hoping to continue their season sweep against the Zips. Jordan Dawson will get Akron on the board first with this nice basket, but the Zips will struggle to contain a Bulls offense that sank 4 3-pointers in the first quarter, including these two by Daisha Fair and Dominique Camp. Akron will head into the second quarter with an 8-point deficit, but some strong early offense will help them stay in it. This cut from Reagan Bass, as well as a 3-pointer from Jordan Dawson, will close the gap to 3. Buffalo will be in no mood for slowing down, however, and they will end the half on a 10-2 run. Coming out of the break, the score was 32-21 in Buffalo's favor. The third quarter will feature the most offense of the entire game, with both teams playing solid, structured basketball. Dawson scored 6 of her 15 points in the third, and Buffalo continued their impressive long-range efficiency by tallying 3 more 3-pointers. As the game makes its way into the fourth, Buffalo will take their lead and run away with it. They outscored Akron 27-6 in these 10 minutes of play, as Buffalo continued to rain down on a Zips defense that had already been through 30 minutes of tough action. With the 82-43 victory, the Bulls, led by Daisha Fair's 28 points, will advance to the MAC championship game, where they would go on to defeat the Ball State Cardinals. For the Zips, a disappointing end to the tournament is brightened by their best overall season in several years. This is Max Arisi with the ZTV Sports Report, and go Zips. I mean, that was probably the worst possible result that, we could have hoped for.
Right.
I mean, dude, I just feel like this Buffalo team is Akron's kryptonite, man.
Yeah.
Like all season long, between this game and the 2 regular season, that's 3 matchups, and I don't think the Zips were even really close in a single one of those.
Right.
So, I mean, it definitely hurts. This isn't how you want, your tournament to end. But one, kind of a silver lining to look at is they did, manage to secure a spot in a postseason tournament after this.
Right.
And granted, they lost to Wake Forest by
team.
about 10 or so.
Right.
But at least, their last game of the season and the last game of Jordan Dawson's career
Right.
wasn't a 40-point loss.
Right.
But, as much as this, it's not good to see, but, it's been a great season from this team,
Right.
and you definitely got to be happy with it.
I mean, those Bulls are tough. They're the 2 seed for a reason. And
Mhm.
honestly, they could have been the 1 seed. They had one of the best players in the conference on their team who had an unbelievable game, unfortunately, against us. And you could just tell from the get-go that they just wanted it more. They had the mindset from the beginning of the season going into the tournament, we want to win the championship. And I think the Zips were a little bit more cautious and just wanted to prove the haters wrong because we weren't even supposed to be in the tournament. So we were probably just happy enough to be there, and it kind of showed.
And, Buffalo did go on to win the tournament after
Right.
this. So
At least we
definitely
lost to the
that,
winner.
Yeah, that definitely helps a little bit, from
Yeah.
the perspective of a Zips fan or a
Right.
Zips player. But disappointing ending,
Right.
not much more you can say, but a great season overall.
Certainly.
Yeah, so now let's jump back to the men's team and see if they're able to upset the number 1 seed Toledo Rockets in the MAC semifinal.
What's good, everybody? It's Josh, and I'm coming at y'all with some more men's hoops. Let's get into it. And for this one, we'll be in Cleveland as the number 4 Akron Zips take on the number 1 seed Toledo Rockets in the semifinal round of the MAC tournament. And coming into the tournament, Toledo's definitely the team to beat as they dominated the MAC all season. They hold a 17-3 record in the conference. And for Akron, they got momentum on their side as they come into this one looking to knock off the number 1 seed. Let's see how this goes. And off the tip, the Zips were quick to get going. Xavier Castaneda pulled from deep to knock down a 3. Fast forward a couple possessions, you can see the big man Enrique Freeman banging down low as he finishes for 2 and gives the Zips a 5-point lead. The next possession, Raheem Moss would bring the ball down and finish out the cut for 2. This put Toledo on the board and started a nice back and forth between the 2 teams. And throughout the season, this Zips team's biggest problem is the It takes them a little too long to get going offensively, but that wasn't the case in this one. They were just going bucket for bucket with Toledo. The Rockets just couldn't get a stop. For every bucket that they got, Akron had an answer, and it was that pressure that gave them this lead. And one man that you have to credit for this hot start is Xavier Castaneda. He wasn't afraid to let it fly in the first half. Anytime he got space, he pulled, and he was knocking them down too. It was really his contributions that drove Akron's overwhelming offense as they went into the half with a 10-point lead. It's clear that we might have an upset on our hands, as the score at half was Akron 38, Toledo 28. Coming out of the half, it was really clear that Toledo made adjustments. They came out of the locker room hot, and they took advantage of some weak interior defenses. They got some easy buckets down low. But this is where you see a couple of Zips really take over. After a big first half, Castaneda obviously had the hot hand. He was still letting it fly from deep, and his shots were dropping. And like Joel Embiid said, Boardman gets paid. You gotta give credit to the bigs too. Enrique Freeman had a huge game. 12 points and 10 rebounds, the man's literally a walking double-double. And it's these type of performances that gave Akron everything they need to hold on to their lead, complete the upset, and leave with the dub. And you know what that means. Wagon wheel matchup in the championship for the Zips. And this is huge for them. They lost to Kent twice this season. It's really time for get back. Anyways, that's all I got for y'all. This is Josh with the ZTV Sports Report. Peace.
That's what we're talking about. You know,
Right.
upset against the #1 seed, Toledo
Right.
Rockets. Not a lot of people were probably picking the Zips going into this game, but I mean, they'll be regretting that for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, you start talking about this game, there's nowhere else that the conversation can begin except for Xavier Castaneda.
Right.
I mean,
Unbelievable.
that was probably his best game of the season. I mean, you know, high 20s on his points, but he was just making plays everywhere. He was low-key had a Jordan Dawson.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, so obviously offensive, he was really your catalyst, but he had just as big of an impact on the defensive end.
Right.
So
I mean, that was a great game played defensively for the Zips. And like I said, you can really tell that throughout the season, our defense has really been stepping up. They've just been more comfortable together. And I mean, the Zips came guns blazing in that first half of that game. They went into the half, I think, up 15 or something.
Right.
And then unfortunately, Toledo kind of worked their way back into that game, went
It's
on
a
a
one
quick
seed.
run.
It's a 1 seed.
They're
What
the
do you
1 seed. What
expect?
you gotta expect it. It's not going to be a blowout like that. So,
Mhm.
but great that they could hold on there, make a couple really important buckets at the end, and move on to that championship game.
Yeah, and who else are they playing in the championship but the Kent State Golden Flashes? I remember we talked earlier in the season,
Right.
you know, after we covered their second regular season loss,
Yeah.
we were like, you know, hopefully they can meet them again
Right.
in
Give
the
us that
tournament
dream matchup.
and get their revenge. So, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it could be a storybook ending to this tournament.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
we're really excited to get into that game and Dan's coverage of it. But first, we're going to have to take our second commercial break. Stay tuned.
You're watching ZTV.
Hi, I'm Natalie Savage.
And I'm Brian Day, and we're excited to bring you a brand new season of Akron After Hours.
Really? You couldn't have memorized that?
Is that in this? Oh, no. No.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
You're watching ZTV.
I know we're all very eager to see how the Zips can perform against Kent State in the championship. So let's not waste any time and get right into that coverage.
The Akron Zips face the Kent State Golden Flashes in the MAC championship game in Cleveland on March 12th. The Zips upset the #1 Toledo Rockets in the semifinals and will go on to face their arch rivals for the third time this year. Kent State starts off strong with some early triples from Von Cameron Davis and the MAC's most valuable player, Sincere Carey. The Flashes would get off to an 11-3 start before the Zips would find their groove with some deep shots from Ali Ali. Ali tallied 15 points in the game, going 5 for 9 from the field and 4 for 5 from deep in the rock. Despite a hot start to the game, the rest of the first half would be a tale of turnovers for Kent State. The Flashes turned the ball over 19 times throughout the game, 9 of which came from Sincere Carey. 7 of those 9 turnovers happened in the first half, which would help Akron ice the Flashes and take a 34-25 lead heading into halftime. Certainly not the ideal start for the MAC MVP. Sincere Carey opens the second half with his second of 2 3-pointers on the evening. Carey only scored a season low of 6 points. Conversely, Garvin Clark, who only averaged 3 points a game throughout the entire year, would score a season high of 11 points, going 3 for 5 from deep. Talk about having a career game when it matters most. Collectively, the Zips hit over 52% of their field goals and 3-pointers, which helped them pull away. Justin Hamilton would carry the Golden Flashes with 19 points and 8 rebounds, including this vicious dunk. For Akron, Enrique Freeman would lead both teams in scoring with 23 points and 8 rebounds. Despite running away with the commanding lead, the Zips would not take their foot off the gas as Freeman goes unblocked and throws the hammer down. To add insult to injury, Ali Ali caps off the memorable evening with this 3-pointer. Kent State may have swept Akron in the regular season, but the Zips would get the last laugh and would not only walk away with the victory, but would claim the MAC championship. This marks the first time the Zips would win the MAC tournament since 2013. Enrique Freeman would rightfully go on to win MAC tournament MVP. This is Dan Groen with the ZTV Sports Report, and thank you for watching.
Well, the MAC Player of the Year did not have a very MAC Player of the Year-esque game, and the Zips walk away with the dominating victory.
Right.
I mean, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was actually at that game, and that was probably the most fun I've ever had at not just a Zips sporting event, probably a sporting event, any sporting event ever. You know,
Right.
I mean, not just that they won by 20.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't even close.
No.
I mean, Kent didn't have a chance.
They didn't. You know, they started pretty competitive, and then Akron, you know, they started pulling away right at the half, just like in that Toledo game. But same story. They let Kent get back in. They went on an 8-0 run, which made it, you know, a close game again. And then Akron just realized that they made it this far, and this is the team that they want to beat more than anybody else, and really just put it to them. You know, Sincere Carey, 6 points, 9 turnovers. Having more turnovers than you did points, that's a heck of a showing by the Zips. So.
And, you know, I think looking at individual players for the Zips, you got to mention Enrique Freeman.
Right.
I mean, not just what a game, but what a tournament for him. Just phenomenal to see. And, I mean, that last game against Kent, he was just making so many plays on both ends of the court.
Yeah.
So he obviously deserved, you know, the MAC tournament MVP.
Right.
But it's almost like even more interesting almost to think of the fact that somebody like Castaneda didn't win.
Right.
Like, you can play that good and not win the MVP.
Got some good teammates.
That just shows how good you're playing, you know, as a team.
Right.
And I do think we need to mention briefly, there was a certain video that circulated after Kent State won in
the fire.
The semifinals. They were, you know, calling out some Akron players by name and saying some things that, you know, they weren't PG rated.
Right.
Let's just say that.
Right.
So I know Kent was missing one of their better players for the first half of that game due to a suspension from the video. But, I mean, it wouldn't have made a difference.
I don't think it matters.
I mean, that was probably the most all-around game the Zips have played, you know, all season.
Right.
And it came at the absolute best time.
Yeah.
So now moving past the tournament, you know, with that win, the Zips, they did earn a spot in the NCAA tournament.
Certainly.
Ended up getting matched up against the UCLA Bruins.
Right.
So let's take it over to that game and see how they fare. With their dominating victory over Kent State in the MAC championship game, the Akron Zips secured a bid into this year's NCAA tournament. Selected as a 13 seed, the Zips were matched up against a big-time program in the 4th-seeded UCLA Bruins. With momentum on their side, let's see if the Zips can pull off a major upset and bring home their first NCAA tournament win in program history. The scoring is going to kick off with a 3-pointer from UCLA's Johnny Juzang, but Ali Ali will follow it up with one of his own. Enrique Freeman also capitalizes on a chance to show off his versatility and prove that this Zips team showed up ready to play. The next 10 game minutes will be a stretch of back and forth, very defensive basketball, until the Zips open up an 8-point lead with a three-pointer from Garvin Clark and this incredible move from Enrique Freeman. Despite this big dunk from Ali, UCLA will play good basketball to finish the first 20 minutes of play, and the Zips head into the locker room with just a 1-point lead. Enrique Freeman will continue his strong play in the second half, such as scoring off this pass from Castaneda and showcasing some more slick footwork to find his way to an open dunk. This three-pointer from Peyton Watson with 12:40 left will give the Bruins their first lead of the half, but another interior bucket from Freeman and 2 3-pointers from Xavier Castaneda will put the Zips back on top. Greg Tribble will do some of what he does best with this great and-one finish, but a quick turn of events will give UCLA the momentum they've been searching for. They'll hit some big-time three-pointers, then, with just under 2:30 to go, Enrique Freeman will foul out on this screen. Akron still maintained a legitimate chance to win despite this logo 3 from Campbell, but Ali will be unable to get this game-tying layup to go in, and a couple of free throws from the Bruins will seal the deal. The 57-53 defeat is sure to be a stinger for the Zips, who led most of the way and were never without a chance. Looking at the big picture, however, this season was nothing to hang their heads about, and is a very promising sign for what this young team will be capable of accomplishing in the future. This is Max Aracey with the ZTV Sports Report, and go Zips. Well, that was a pretty disappointing ending to that game, especially just considering the fact that the Zips were basically in the driver's seat, if not that entire game, definitely the majority of it.
Yeah.
And I think that, looking at the game, the big moment that turned the tides was definitely Enrique fouling out. Like, obviously he had been experiencing some foul trouble, but aside from that, he was making so many plays. So, he fouls out, that really swings the momentum, and, UCLA came out with a win.
Right. I mean, UCLA made the Final Four last year, so it was expected that they were going to give us a real tough fight, and certainly they did. It's unfortunate that it was such a competitive and fun game to root for the Zips, and they just unfortunately let it slip out at the end. But great season.
Great season.
Great season.
Even though they end on a loss, there's nothing to hold their heads about.
Right.
It was
impressive to just make the tournament.
Yeah.
Everyone who filled out a bracket saw Akron on the bracket. So
definitely. So I'd love to keep talking Zips basketball all day with you.
Yep.
We can definitely do it, but we're getting to the time where we're about, we're going to have to wrap up. So that'll do it, for the ZTV Sports Report live episode. As usual, you can check us out on various social media platforms, and be sure to stay tuned for the 5th and final episode of the season. With the ZTV Sports Report, I'm Max Aracey.
And I'm Dustin James.
Thank you for watching, and go Zips.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. Do you want to gain experience in video production, professional social media, or working with real clients? Visit the UA School of Communications online or follow us on social media to learn more. ZTV, make media, make a difference.